Is he the man of the moment, is the question we're asking tonight. That is Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, who joins me now from the Linda Mwananchi movement. We'll talk about all of that and much more here on the program tonight. Thank you very much for making the time to be with us.
Asante for having me.
All right.
It's appreciated.
Good. I want us to start with what happened in Western Kenya. You know, a tour of sorts, and we'll talk about that tour and its significance and what it meant. But I want us to listen to this that you said at the tour.
SG tena siku hizi sio naibu wa kiranja, lakini vijana wameniambia leo ninatoka kwa SG ninaenda kwa HE. Unajua HE?
Senator, this is the moment from SG to HE. Simunajua HE.
Actually, that is not from the tour last.
Yeah, it was from before.
That's from Mwatate in Taita Taveta.
Yeah.
And you know, I was laughing when you started the show because of just how short my introduction has become. Because you know that last time we were here, I was holding other titles and you would have to go through all of them. But we have gotten to this place where the introduction has been significantly shortened. We go into this meeting in Taita Taveta, and these young people, on the back of all this information about everything that has been taken away, they tell me you need not worry. I mean, all these positions, actually, some of them were given to you by Raila, but most of them are given by the public. And we are saying there is something better that we feel that would suit you. And even you, I'm sure it will roll off your tongue if you just say, HE, Simba. So we are progressing well. And I want to thank everybody who has shown up. Because everywhere that we've gone, Yvonne, the people have been amazing. I mean, when we spoke last in February, there was a lot of darkness in front. But I can tell you now that I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, because Raila always used to say that in times of difficulty for any political leader, just go back to the people. And if the people keep showing up for you, then you have nothing to worry about.
So what's that light at the end of the tunnel?
I can see that there is possibility of us achieving something great here. Because there is a general yearning in the country for things to be done differently. They're telling us they want to see a different country, and they believe that the Linda Mwananchi team can actually deliver that change that they are hoping to see in the country. And for as long as the people are there, I mean, that is all a political leader needs. Because you remember back then there was certain debates that were going on, including in ODM, on where the supporters of ODM were, in terms of the support for either the Linda Ground team or the Linda Mwananchi team. I personally believe that by and large that controversy has been settled. We now believe, and I've seen a few polls here and there showing that a vast majority of members of ODM are with us. And it's something that is very comforting, because I have worked for those people, I've worked with those people for years as their SG. And just the fact that they can continue to support us, even in our new causes, is quite encouraging. So that controversy needed to be settled. We would not be here today, because if you ask many people in Linda Mwananchi how we got ourselves into this conversation where we are now a consequential force in determining the direction the country takes in the next election, we didn't think that we would find ourselves here. And I remember even the last conversations that we had with you, we were not speaking in these terms. By the way, Yvonne, your show causes me a lot of problems. I blame you partly for some of the problems I have. I'm sure even after this, there will be some people who are feeling a certain way. But I will continue to be myself. I will continue to speak truth to power. I will continue to explain myself, because I have a responsibility, both as an elected leader in this country and as a person who's paid by the taxpayer, to explain all our decisions, even to the members of ODM. We have to explain to them every decision that we have taken, every effort that we have made to bring, sense to bear, our successes, our failures in trying to achieve those things, and then to explain to them our next steps, because we have that responsibility to explain to them our next steps.
And we'll talk about the next steps. But first, the tour of Western Kenya, some have termed it a homecoming of sorts. What would you call it? Why were you in Trans Nzoia and Bungoma counties?
I don't know why people are calling it a homecoming, because
what was it for you?
We have given an undertaking that we have to consult the public widely. We have 47 counties, and we have given an undertaking to reach all these counties to speak to the people, find out where they stand on the issues and whether they're going to support some of the propositions we're going to put forward. You will remember that this entire tour began in Busia. When I went to Busia, I didn't hear any big deal, although I come from Western Kenya. We have done Kakamega County, we have done Vihiga County. So there were only 2 counties remaining in Western Kenya that we had not touched. And it just happens that I originally come from Bungoma County. So people were trying to give it all sorts of names. And I remember because there are people who care deeply about my standing in society, and they were calling me, Sifuna, why are you calling it a homecoming? Your home is actually in Kenya. So everywhere I go is actually a homecoming. And we are still arguing with Babu Owino whether the crowds in Bungoma were bigger than Kisumu or whether they were bigger than Kitengela. But I think it was just something that the media tried to brand, because I originally hail from Bungoma. Of course, I'm elected here in Nairobi. And I think a homecoming for me would actually be here in the capital, because this is where I'm elected to serve. So it's one of the 47 counties, and we have to go to all these counties. I think we have done 16 counties now. There's quite a number to go. I think there's 31 left, and we will go to every corner of the country, because that is what is required to be able to ascertain whether we are a movement that is consequential, that we can actually produce viable candidates in 2022 in all the positions that are available for election. So trust that we will go to Turkana, we will go to Wajir, we will go to Mandera, we will go to Marsabit, we will go to Garissa. And because they are calling me Wakenya now, I can assure you that all of us will be homecomings for me as well. Yeah.
So a homecoming for, you say you would consider a homecoming, Nairobi might be a homecoming?
Like that is the center of the country, it's the capital of the country, I'm elected here. I think that would be a homecoming.
Okay.
I suspect so.
Listen, let's cut to the chase here with what happened in Western Kenya, what you said, SG to HE. Edwin Sifuna, are you interested? Are you running? Are you considering running for President of the Republic of Kenya? I
think the straight answer is that as Linda Mwananchi, we are very, very strongly considering the prospect of running a presidential candidate. And that is something that I think is clear. It's coming from the people themselves. They are asking us because there's things that they see that we represent. And we've gotten ourselves here by largely listening to the people. There's a lot of work to be done, Yvonne. I have spoken to you about the tour of the 47 counties. It's not easy to run a presidential campaign. I mean, even just from a constitutional perspective, you need at least 25% in at least half of the counties. We have not even done 20 counties. We are begging and pleading with the public for some level of patience for us to be able to actually ascertain that the support is solid. You have had conversations that this is, somebody compared it to Moto ya Gazeti. We need to know, but you know the beauty is that they started calling it Moto ya Gazeti in February. We are now in August, 6 months for a fire burning. So it's not too bad of a fire, and we are hoping to see whether we can take it to all the other places. There's a certain yearning in the country for some level of freshness in the leadership of the country, a radical departure from the policies that we've seen William Ruto putting in place. There's a lot of hue and cry. People are overburdened with taxation, they have no money, there's high unemployment, and they are thinking that maybe we can get a team in place that will turn the course of the country. So all we are asking for is not that we don't hear what the country is saying. We can hear what the country is saying. And I have said in multiple forums that we are not going to ignore the call of the country or the call of a generation. Because at the end of the day, if you are the one who runs around saying Ruto must go, you must be available to go him. If they settle and say, okay, we want Yvonne to be the head of a spear, I mean, you cannot run away from the call of the people. And we're hoping that once we complete the tour of the country and get to as many constituencies as possible, we should be able to give you a straight answer.
Okay. Yeah. You talked about Linda Mwananchi considering.
Absolutely, because...
okay.
Yes.
My question was, Edwin Sifuna, are you interested in running for president of this country?
I have said, because I'm part of the Linda Mwananchi team, the way that decisions are made in Linda Mwananchi are very collegiate. And I wouldn't just be able to do it if I was alone. In fact, Yvonne, I have gotten to this place where we are in this conversation because of all the support that we've gotten from young people, from those online, from the, the bunge la mwananchis all across the places. We have even TikTokers, we have people on social media. They've been pushing this movement. And one of the things that we will not do is to make unilateral decisions. If those people, that's why you see me in every rally, I tell them, you guys are saying we should go and do this. Let that not be a day when I turn back and I don't find you there. So that decision has to be made together with the people so that it is a decision that is owned by everyone and not just Sifuna, you know. And I've tried to plead with people not to make this thing about Sifuna, because at the end of the day, we need to rescue this country. It could be any one of us.
Okay.
You know?
However, at the rallies,
yes,
it is mimi ndio Sifuna, sisi ndio Sifuna.
Yes, absolutely.
So by and large, even when it is a Linda Mwananchi rally, you are seen as the leader of it, the figurehead of it.
I understand that, but I'm saying all those people who are calling themselves Sifunas can be president. There's no bigger Sifuna amongst all the Sifunas in the country.
And if they asked you to run for president?
That's why I'm saying we should make that decision together.
Okay. If that decision is made,
what I know is,
and they say run for president, is that something you would want, you would do?
I've told them, for as long as I don't turn back and find you guys have disappeared. And that's why you see me asking them, Mona ni chocha? Diboto ya gazeti? And then they say no. So let's see, because we have a lot of work to do in order to have a viable candidature, in order to have a viable campaign. But I am not one to run away. You know that. You've known me all these years. There's no day a responsibility will be placed to me or a call will be made to me and then I run away. We have to answer the call of the country. We have to answer the call of our generation. And I believe that if the people feel that this is the best way for us to proceed, we will not say no. We will proceed with the people. So you say Linda Mwananchi is looking at the possibility of putting up candidates? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is that just presidential? No, is presidential candidates across the ballot. Because is presidential one of them? All the positions that are available for election in 2027, you can see us running around. We have a host of candidates, from MCA candidates all the way to governor, members of parliament, members of the Senate, and so on and so forth. So our responsibility actually, and as we transition into August and the election period proper, is to get structures, is to get structured and organized so that everybody can know how to plug in. Because as it is right now, Linda Mwananchi still remains just a movement of the people, and people would want to know the sort of structure that it will take and how they can plug in, if they wanted to be volunteers, if they wanted to donate, if they wanted to run, to vie, to be members, and so on and so forth. So I think that is the period that we're getting into, and you will see a lot of movement to other direction in the coming months. Yes, I'd like us to talk about that, Linda Mwananchi. Yeah. For now it is a movement? Yep. Party? No, it's a movement. I mean, is there a future of it being a party? On what platform, for instance? Yeah, so you have seen that Linda Mwananchi has drawn its membership from across the political divide. Amongst the founder members of Linda Mwananchi are members of the Wiper Party. We have members from other political parties who have said that they identify with the movement. At some point, and we can feel the pressure from the public and from the aspirants as well, and everybody who's invested in Linda Mwananchi, to get organized, because it is clear, they say in Swahili, akufukuzae hakuambii toka. It is clear that those in the leadership of ODM now are done with us. Even as we speak today, I think there's a motion that is going to be brought to the Senate to effect further changes in the Senate to remove Senator Osotsi as the chair of the County Public Investments Committee. They're going to remove me from the County Public Accounts Committee. I've seen they're sending me to the Fisheries Committee, which they think is a punishment, but I actually need to learn about agriculture and fisheries and the blue economy because of the coming assignments. So you can tell that they are basically done with us. I remember. Are you done with ODM? No, it's about them. It's them who are kicking us out. I remember on Saturday, when we finished our rally in Kitale, I just saw all of us being removed from the ODM WhatsApp group. It's not me who's leaving. They kicked us out, all of us. Are you resigned to your fate now? Removed us. Because previously here and in various press statements,
You have been adamant that you are the Secretary General of the party. We know the decision the party has made. The last time you were here, you were Secretary General of the party and Minority Whip in the Senate. Now you don't speak so much about, you know, still being an ardent member of the party and an official.
It is obvious, and the public will be left to judge that we have tried, those of us who are in ODM who believe that the party should take a different direction. We have tried to fight for the soul of a party. But we're getting dangerously close to the election, and it is clear that our colleagues in the party have no time for us. And therefore, I mean, we have put up a good fight. I personally feel that I have kept my promise to my boss, that I would not be the one to wreck the party, that he has seen that it is them who have come after us. They have stripped us of all the things that he gave us. We have tried to put up a fight, Yvonne. I mean, we have really tried through persuasion and the other things to talk to everyone. And every time you had conversations and you thought that solutions were in the offing, directives would come from other quarters and a totally different direction would be taken. I had one of the leaders saying it is true that decisions of or affecting the party are taken at State House because now the party is part of government. So I think members of ODM will be left to judge on who is right and who's wrong and who has, you know, kept the promise to Mzee and who hasn't. But by and large, if the polls that we're seeing are anything to go by, I believe that members of ODM know what has transpired and the reasons for some of the decisions that we must take now. So
you will not challenge your removal any further?
No, I think we are getting into the election time proper, and the sort of belief, trust and expectation that has been put upon us in Linda Mwananchi does not allow us to keep mourning for too long the things that we've lost. They are saying they will give us these things back. That is where the story of SG to HE came out of. And therefore our responsibility is to get organized so that we don't let all these people down. So really, right now, we have to focus on the future.
And the future of that, I know you say it's a collegiate decision, but even when you take a look at recent opinion polls that have been put up in the country, the question does come up, and those who are surveyed are asked about their preferred presidential candidate. Your name comes up. And your polling and your polling numbers have continued to rise. What does that tell you about, based on the surveys, what people want from you?
It says that I need to keep pushing because the highest I've seen, I think, is 15%, which doesn't get anyone elected president. Why don't you allow me to go to and fetch the votes from Wajir and Mandera and Samburu and the other places? And when I see my numbers near 50% plus one, then maybe you can ask me that question. And Yvonne, if I was going to run for president, do you really think I would announce it at night on a show like this? That is something that you do in broad daylight. You know where we come from.
What's wrong with a show like this?
No, there's nothing. It's at night, surely. You call people in broad daylight and you say, now I'm ready. You know, there's something going on in Bungoma right now. Is that circumcision season? You never do those things in the dark. You call everyone there and you stand there and the deed is done, you know. So just be patient. I think you understand that we have to gauge the public sentiment even further. We have to put in place certain things. I am very happy, like the sort of support that has come our way. It's just been humbling, Yvonne, you know. Like even when they throw jibes at us and say, oh, you people have no money, you go to a market like Kiminini and there's an old woman there who's giving you an old 50 shilling note. You can tell that 50 shilling note has done the rounds in that market. And especially knowing like the sort of economic situation that people are in, just what it takes to make even a sale at Kiminini market, for somebody to stand up and give you 50 shillings and say, we will finance your campaign, it's been quite amazing. We have seen a lot of support on the pay bill, people just sending us 10 shillings. Do you know how many 10 shillings you need to get 6.5 million shillings in 3 days? It's not a joke. So I want to take this opportunity to just appreciate Kenyans demonstrating that this thing can be done. It doesn't matter what sort of handicap people think that you have. It is possible for a people-driven campaign to actually succeed. And we are hoping that we will not let them down. Okay. And that is why we continue to request that you allow us to do everything that is required to make sure that when we make that pronouncement, it is something that is actually going to hold water. Yeah.
I just want to get your thoughts a little further on this polling, because the latest one from TIFA puts you at 15% popularity for a presidential race, and that's risen from 10%. Yeah. In contrast, persons like Kalonzo Musyoka of Wiper, who have been around a little longer than you have, going down to 13%. I think Matiang'i of Jubilee at about 14%. Others like Rigathi Gachagua at 7%. What are your thoughts about being pitted alongside these persons, including sitting President William Ruto, who's polling at 24%, where support has grown consistently but stagnated based on the TIFA polls. Yeah. So you're polling with all of these people, some of whom have expressed interest in the presidency, some of those who are sitting on the seat. Your thoughts around what those numbers tell you?
So maybe three things, and this is why I'm telling you that what people are looking for is not a declaration, because there's multiple people who have declared who are not showing up on those polls. So it tells you that Kenyans are not looking for a declaration. I have tried to explain that the mind is a very powerful, thing, that if people don't see you in an office, it doesn't matter how many times you say you want to be in that office. The mind will just reject the entire notion. So it is not the pronouncement. And people need to see you in that office. And how do they see you in that office? It is, how have we gotten ourselves into this conversation? What have we been doing the past 6 months or so when we were nowhere to showing up in the polls? Secondly, and most importantly, when you have an incumbent who's running below 30% in terms of his approval and the support that he has, it tells you that he's in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble. And if you put together all the support of the opposition, you see that it is possible, if the opposition were to present a united front, to actually have a new government in place in 12 months. So, which is why we in Linda Mwananchi are more focused about those conversations of unity, making sure that we present a formidable candidate against President William Ruto. Those permutations will change from time to time, because they say that an opinion poll is just a barometer of a moment in time. It changes every time. And this is just one pollster. I'm sure that if there was another pollster, the numbers would be different. You'll find different numbers from Infotrack and the others, and from TIFA and the others. So it is not something to dwell on. What we want is to put in the hard work. Just put in the hard work, reach as many people as possible, try and explain to them this new offering, that things can actually be done differently in our country, and that there are higher aspirations than just some of these things that we hear people talking about, roads and stadiums and so on and so forth. Because when we talk to the people, they are explaining to us that, Sifuna, we want a country that actually lives to the ideals and the values in our constitution. They want a government that is run on values. Any of these governments can do these things that we speak about. But when you increasingly hear and listen to the people in government, their proposition seems to be that for as long as I've built you roads, it doesn't matter how I've treated you. And the people are saying no. The people are saying no, that human rights, democracy, these things are important to them. In fact, they are higher in their pecking order to some of these things that William Ruto likes to front load, like markets and roads. So we have to put in the work. I have said here on this show that nobody thinks, or in Linda Mwananchi, nobody thinks that it's going to be easy. We have to put in the work. We have to persuade people. Tomorrow we have a meeting with a team of our experts who is going to start preparing a platform, because Kenyans are increasingly saying, Sifuna, we all are on the same page that Ruto needs to go, and these are the reasons why we are saying he must go. These are the things he did to get us here. What sort of country do we wake up to after we've kicked him out? Because Yvonne, the sense of unease and impatience that I feel, especially amongst the young people, even if we were to succeed to gain power in this country, we are not going to have the luxury of time. People want to see immediate changes. You've heard the story there of Margaret Nyakango, the control of budget, saying our borrowing is getting out of hand. We're dealing with 13 trillion shillings in debt. And there is no other way. We need to have a team in power that will immediately cut government spending so that we are able to deal with the question of taxation in the next financial year. So there are serious conversations to be had. I want you people to move away from this fascination of who's going to be number one and who's going to be number two. No. That's not it. We want to be able to tell you that this is the country you will wake up to on the 11th of August in 2027.
So let's talk about that, because there are some who say, the slogan, Ruto must go, which is your slogan. So Ruto must go, then what? What's your plan? First of all, why must he go, in your view?
Correct.
And then what? What is your plan? Because people are saying, okay, a slogan is one thing, but what plan do you have for this country? Yeah,
so we have a history as a country, Yvonne, and I've tried to tell this story 100 times. There is a life we used to live. Then we decided that this life has to stop. And I will take you back to 2002, which was the first time that some of us were voting. When we were kicking out Moi, why were we saying Moi must go? Why were we saying the Kanu state has to go? It's not because Moi did not build stadiums. Moi built 2 stadiums. Moi is the one who built Kasarani. Moi is the one who built Nyayo Stadium. And in fact, after that, no other person has ever built. I think this Talanta is going to be the next one. But there is a life we used to live that was unacceptable to us. And especially as measured against the 6 essential values that I keep speaking about that are highlighted in the preamble of the Constitution. Number 1 is human rights, democracy, the rule of law, social justice, equity, equality. All of those things mean something to Kenyans, that our lives have to be lived within a context of democratic ideals. So when you hear people saying, oh, you tell us how many roads you're going to build, it doesn't matter how many people you've killed as a government. Kenyans are increasingly telling us that these values of human rights and the right to life, that is the reason why people are saying we are not going to be attracted by these shiny things. We know that people who believe in democracy can also build stadiums and roads, but we don't want a dictator in power. We don't want to see the things that happen in our neighboring countries happening in Kenya. So William Ruto, by the way, I will accept that in the election of 2022, he rode on a very popular wave. I think he was very popular, especially with the small Mwananchi. Then you have to ask him, how did he lose all of that support? What are the things that he did? First of all, you get in and power gets to your head and you become very obstinate, that you refuse to listen to the people. There is a value under Article 10 which talks about public participation. We are servants of the people, Yvonne. You have to listen to the people. If the people tell you that they don't want something, you don't force it upon them just because you are in power. That is part of the problem. And all these problems began, I remember in 2023, when Raila was still around and we were running around doing our maandamano with the sufurias on the head, we started by having a conversation at Jivanji Gardens, and we told the government that these are the things we feel you need to address. First of all, the cost of living was going way beyond the means of, or the capacity of many Kenyans. And you need to listen so that you are able to make interventions to be able to assuage the suffering of the population. What were we met with? Instead of listening to us, we were met with tear gas and bullets in the streets, and we lost a lot of lives back then. Then comes the taxation. I mean, we have been in this space where the few of us who are on pay slips have been taxed to the bone, you know? And you people can tell that even the purchasing power of Kenyans has gone down because of the high taxation. And what are these taxes going to? He'll tell you about the housing levy. And I asked him, honestly, President William Ruto, he claims he's trying to eliminate slums. What slum was he eliminating in Funyula, for instance? If you go to Funyula, that slum, that affordable housing that I was talking about, 12 floors, I was asking myself, what slum was he trying to eliminate in Funyula? The member of parliament for Funyula, Dr. Undo, is a member of Linda Mwananchi, and he confirmed to me there is no slum in Funyula. The priorities of the people in the area mean something. And you have to listen to them. If you spoke to the people of Busia, they would rather that concrete and steel was used in expanding the Busia hospital, doing schools and other things, because that is their priority. They will not live on the 12th floor, because there's no Luya who lives where a chicken cannot live. We live with our chicken, we don't rear them. I don't know if you understand the distinction. So when he's elected here in Nairobi, everybody can count the number of slums that we had in 2022. He should be telling us, because of this taxation, I have closed one slum. There used to be a slum in Madare, I have closed it. Or even in Embakasi South in Mukuru kwa Njenga, there's a big construction there of affordable housing. If William Ruto was standing to tell the country that I closed the slum called Mukuru kwa Njenga, and those people who are living there are now in these high-rise buildings, then we would listen to him. So when he does all these things, and you get to a place where the people are telling, especially the elected leaders, that don't vote for this proposal, don't vote for this proposal. But you have the head of state, because he's in a position to influence how parliament behaves, he stands up and says, I'm waiting to see which member of parliament will vote against this thing. Yet the people are the ones who are supposed to be the bosses of the members of parliament. And then 2024 happens, you know? And when it happens, all of those deaths in 2024 were actually avoidable, Yvonne. In my view, they were very, very avoidable. All William Ruto needed to do was to listen to the people. And the most annoying thing is that he waits to waste all these lives in cold blood, then he refuses to assent to the bill. I mean, surely. So he argues with us when we point out that things are not working. You see, even this thing called the university funding model, do you know how long William Ruto has argued with us that that thing is working? Even this share, he will come to accept, and even this housing levy, we are giving him time. When it comes to crunch time, he will accept, just like he has admitted that the university funding model is not working. He will come to admit that share is not working, that this housing thing is not working. You know, today we got a visit from kids from Starehe Boys Center here in Nairobi. And we were discussing with them and just wondering, like, even this university funding model, if William Ruto wanted to have a system that actually accurately identifies the most neediest students and to support them, all he needs to do is to go to Starehe Center. He didn't have to play around with the lives of these kids the way he has done.
Okay.
And finally, on that point, you know, he comes around and says, okay, now we are going to change the funding system. But do you know, there are lives that have already been ruined, Yvonne. In the 3 years that he was experimenting with his funding model, there's people who have actually irredeemably been affected, and they might never recover those years that have been lost.
So you've talked about the issues you have with the current regime. If you say you are offering yourselves as an alternative,
yes,
what is that alternative?
Now, I have said to you here on this show that, in fact, the kind of government that Kenyans wanted is already in our constitution. Because of the history that we have suffered, Kenyans want a very specific government. One that is based on the essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy, social justice, and the rule of law. These are not abstract concepts, Yvonne. You see, I give the example, for instance, if you are a country that is governed by rule of law, there is investor confidence, and I want young people to understand that it is the private sector that invests and then creates jobs for all of us. I have given examples of this institution here, where we are, Royal Media. When SK Macharia was trying to start this media house during Moi's time, you remember all the tribulations that he went through. There was times when his licenses would be suspended. They would come and raid the facility and take away equipment and so on and so forth. If you were to ask Yvonne, how many people work at Royal Media Services, for instance, all your radio stations, all your TV stations, and then how many families, directly or indirectly, are actually involved in this entire operation called Royal Media Services? So the rule of law is such that SK Macharia knows that he can invest his money in this business. He knows that the government is a licensor. If he has a problem with the licensor, for instance, the government cancels the license for Royal Media Services, he can go to a court that will actually give him a fair hearing. And if the court determines against the government, he should know that the government will obey that order. But we are in a situation where William Ruto runs the country by the so-called Mambo ni Matatu rules. So 1,001 cases here. You are told, okay, you have won the case in court, but tutakutana na wewe kwa ground. You have situations where nobody knows what the sanctity of title means anymore. That how, for instance, do you invite an investor to come and buy a piece of land here in Kilimani to put up a plant or whatever business they want to start, and then the next day they wake up, they hear that that piece of land has 3 titles. One of them is held by the Senator of Nairobi, and that even if you take me to court, I'll either speak with the judge behind the tent or send people or goons to occupy the property, and you'll never have your property. So I need to understand that investors look at some of these things, which is why sometimes when you see these investment contracts, when it comes to dispute resolution, they take them to arbitration in London. Why? Because they don't trust your judicial system. They're not going to put money here. Secondly, Yvonne, corruption is such a big problem for job creation that you have these investors complaining that before you even break ground on your project, you have everybody from the area chief to the MCA, to the MP, to the senator, all the way to the president hassling you for either a direct bribe or a piece of the shares of the business, and that you're not going to be able to do business if you don't accede to that request. So if we do away with all these things and we create an even playing field, so that nobody feels like they have to give the president a piece of their business for them to invest in Kenya, we will create more jobs for our young people.
So it's easy to say, yeah, we'll do away with corruption and this is what we're going to do. How would you, in a way that you feel is not being done today?
Yeah, so because the vibe that is coming from the top, you know, they say, and I'll take you back to 2002, you know, the person you elect sends a certain signal as to the things we are going to tolerate and the things we are no longer going to tolerate. So when Kibaki gets elected in 2002, he never issued a decree saying that if you see a police officer receiving or asking for a bribe from your matatu driver, you should arrest them. Kenyans were doing it on themselves. And in the converse, if everybody knows that Sifuna as president has a cut in this airport deal himself, what stops me from also asking for my cut, you know? So there is a vibe that comes from the person who's at the top, that certain things are no longer going to be tolerated, and the team that he assembles to be able to deliver that dream, which is simply not the case right now. And
do you have that vibe?
I believe that, you know, people can tell. The people can tell because our histories are there. I saw some people saying that I have a very small house, that I should have a bigger house because I'm the senator of Nairobi. They have called me the poorest senator from Nairobi. If I wanted personal enrichment, I could actually do it. I will tell you the story of how Tomboya Social Hall was about to be grabbed one time. And they come and tell you, oh, Sifuna kuna kiwanja tunataka kupiga hapa. It is good money. It's not bad money. And I tell them, those things me I'm not doing. And then I take the question of Tomboya Social Hall to the Senate, and I call the CS for lands there, Alice Wahome. And to her credit, she comes and cancels that title that was given to the private developer who took over Tomboya Social Hall. So it depends on everyone's disposition. You know, we are raised differently. Some of us, where we come from, if you steal someone's chicken, it's a big problem. But then there's people who actually are regarded as heroes if they come and raid your kraal and take all your cows home. So we are socialized differently.
Yeah,
you know?
But socialization is one thing, and I wouldn't want to speculate about how other people are raised or socialized, but it goes beyond that, doesn't it?
It does.
Some type of personal conviction.
It does.
What about you makes you a leader? What is it about your experience?
And that's what I'm saying.
Hang on a second. You've heard some people say, well, what's your experience? What is your background? You know, what have you done? What's your portfolio? So tell us, if you are offering yourself as an alternative, what about you that makes you different from not just the incumbent, but everybody else?
But that is for the public to judge, because you see, as an elected official in this country, there's somebody who has been in the public space for all this time. Our lives are out there. Our lives are an open book, and you can always judge. I don't want to be like the person blowing my own trumpet, and you can look at someone's history. I remember in 2000.
No, but beyond blowing your own trumpet.
In 2022, when we were explaining to the country that a leopard does not change its spots, that the history of people determine how they are going to act in the future to a certain degree. If, for instance, your entire public life has been scandal-ridden, you have been found by a competent court of law to have grabbed Muteshi's land, for instance. There is questions about how you acquired your hotel in Langata, that used to be public land. How would people be shocked if you behave differently in office? They shouldn't be shocked. So our entire histories are there. And
what is your history?
You know, I have been a public figure for the past 12, 15 years.
Tell us.
So I can't go through that myself. You are the people to judge and say, has Sifuna used the opportunities that he has been given by the public to enrich himself?
Have you?
Am I fundamentally different in terms of the wealth that I have?
Are you?
I am not. That's the point that I am making.
Are you fundamentally different from everybody else?
Not everybody else. I am saying, let everybody's history be the one informing your choices about how you feel these people are going to behave in future. Look at us and use a fine-tooth comb to go through all of our opportunities, all of our moments in history, and you'll find out who's the best person. I'm not saying that I am an angel, but would people want to know about your value system, of course,
what you hold dear?
And the value system is not something you sit and explain on TV. It is a lived thing, you know? It is throughout your entire life how you've behaved in certain areas. And the question about experience, for instance, I went to Mass at a church in Kitale called Cathedral of Immaculate Conception. And the preaching that day was actually that story of how, what's his name, David's son, Solomon, became the king of Israel. And God visited him in a dream and asked him what he would like. And it was a very simple request. He said he would like understanding to be able to govern the people and discernment to know right from wrong. That is all you need in leadership. Because I think if you know right from wrong, you will not do some of the things that we have seen this government doing. And we hope that we will put together a good team that can be able to plug the gaps. Because as leadership, you must accept that you don't know everything. I think the know-it-all attitude of some of these leaders is part of the problem that we have as a country. And you must accept that, for instance, Sifuna is, you know me as a lawyer. I am not an economist or an expert in economy. But I recognize that there's people who actually have spent their entire lives as economists. So give them opportunity to be able to advise you, listen to their advice, and carry out that advice. Okay, we want to take a break. When we come back, we will talk a lot more about that, including the money question, how you are making or crowdsourcing funding, how much you have, and also that question about apparently your house back in the village. That's the subject of national conversation at this time. We're here with Senator for Nairobi, Edwin Sifuna, also from Linda Mwananchi. Yeah, and like you said, your CV has become, your title has become a lot shorter. We'll be right back with Edwin Sifuna here on The Explainer.